Welcome to another video, guys. Today we will be reviewing this 2017 Mustang GT. Over the past few months, I've reviewed some pretty dang special Mustangs, including the Mach 1 as well as the Shelby GT350. But I've never driven one of these normal Mustang GTs, these V8 powered manual transmission performance cars. So I'm really curious to see how this car compares to those much more expensive special models. Now, Aaron, the owner of this Mustang GT, does go to the track quite a bit, so he has installed some handling mods. The full mod list will be in the video description, but some of the main items here: Ford Racing track shocks, BMR handling springs with the same spring rates apparently as the Gen 1 GT350, and he's got a BMR 350mm front sway bar, as well as the stock Ford Performance Pack 1 rear sway bar. We've got some Ferodo DS1.11 track pads, and he mentioned that he flushed out the stock transmission fluid and put in some redline fluid, as this GetRag transmission does not have nearly as smooth a shift as the Tremec unit in the GT350 and Mach 1. Since this is a 2017 model year, it is the last model year of the, I guess you could call it, pre-facelift 6th gen Mustang. So it's got a 5-liter naturally aspirated V8, but this model produces 435 horsepower and revs to just a little over 6,500 RPM, whereas the later 5.0 revs about 500 RPM higher and makes an extra, I believe it's 30 horsepower or so. And in terms of wheels and tires, we're on some Apex SM10s 19x11 with 295/30/19 Continental Extreme Contact Force tires. So with that being said, let's take this thing for a drive. We're gonna put this into Sport Plus mode. Steering will be in Sport, and traction control is off. Let's see how just a normal Mustang GT with a few handling mods feels on a canyon road. Oh, he also has a Corsa cat pack exhaust, as you'll hear right here. The steering is a little bit light. It's electric power steering rack, even in the Sport Plus mode. Definitely could use a little bit more weight, a little bit more feel. This engine's nice though. Despite the lower RPM red line, it still makes a great sound, and it loves to rev all the way out. See how it does in the hairpins. That's his radar detector is going haywire. Not bad, not bad. This car has a lot of performance for the money. I mean, these things go for what, 30 to 35 grand nowadays? A performance pack Mustang GT pre-2018. This is a lot of straight line performance for the money, and with a few handling mods and some wheels and tires, it feels pretty good in the corners. My main gripe is the lack of steering feel, but otherwise, it's got plenty of grip. It turns in nicely for a 3,800 pound car. He's running, I think, almost 3.5 degrees of front camber. Since these do have McPherson struts up front, they do need a lot of static negative camber to prevent understeer. Nice short gearing. When I shift at around 6,600 RPM, in first, second, and third, it seems, the RPM only drops to about 5,000. So it's always in the power band. And that's something I really like about these Mustangs, these V8 powered Mustangs at least. The short gearing just adds to the driver engagement. The soft limiter there. I wish I had another 1,000 revs to play with, and that's exactly what that Mach 1 gives you. Now, this transmission, while definitely not as smooth and mechanical as the Tremec in the Mach 1 and GT350, it still feels decent. With this redline fluid, at least, it does feel pretty good. It's just a little bit muddier between the gates. There we go. A little bit of sideways action. Front engine, rear wheel drive, naturally aspirated with a limited slip differential. It's just a recipe for driving thrills. These Ford track shocks surprisingly feel pretty dang good out here. With the BMR springs and the BMR front sway bar, the overall suspension setup of this car strikes a good balance between comfort and compliance on one end, and then performance and control on the other end of that spectrum. It sits right in the middle. You still do feel a lot of body motions in the corners with this car. Similar, by the way, to a stock Mach 1 or GT350. Every Mustang I've driven feels like it wants to move around a bit when you start pushing it, which is the exact opposite of what a Camaro SS1LE feels like, which is a much more hunkered down feeling. I would say that this suspension setup is not as good as the Magna Ride in the Mach 1 and the GT350, the later models, but definitely not too far off either. I feel like this engine just wants to rev out even more than its red line would indicate. I just wish it had more steering feel. That's probably my main gripe with this car in terms of driving feel. These Ferodo DS 1.11 pads with the Brembo front brakes, they're very, very grabby. It's a little bit difficult to modulate the braking pressure. For canyon driving, it does take some getting used to. There's a learning curve to these pads. These tires, they are excellent tires for canyon driving. Man, this car's fun. This car's a lot of fun to drive. But I will say that I do see where your extra money goes if you go with a Mach 1 or GT350. Those products just feel that much more cohesive in terms of driving dynamics. Now, second gear. I mean, 6,600-ish redline, but the sound of that induction note, it just makes me think it wants to rev higher. And if I didn't look at the tachometer, I definitely would hit that soft limiter. But overall, what a great car. This is just so much value for your money. If you want something with a lot of performance that's also fun to drive in that $30,000 to $35,000 range, this car's a great value. They're also very comfortable and quiet from inside, and they're easy to see out of, unlike that Camaro. This car is a great performance bargain. That's really where it excels. I'm not gonna sit here and tell you guys that this is anywhere near as focused as a Shelby or a Mach 1, but for this money, for, I mean, half the price, you get more or less the same overall core driving dynamics. It just needs better steering feel. The transmission could be a little bit better. The engine, again, doesn't rev out as eagerly, but that said, it still makes more than enough power at 435 horsepower. And for a 3,800-pound car, this car really does handle its weight quite well. You can do big skids in this thing, or you can drive it neat and tidy. There's something for everyone, whether you're a track rat or you just want a fast and comfortable daily. This car really is a jack of all trades. I'd love to try a 2018 Plus GT model now, just to see how that engine and the suspension differences affect the feel of this car. Thank you guys for watching. See you in the next one.